How's it going, everyone? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It's JakeyXYZ, Hermit, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we see the return of the roundups. Ooh, yay! I was hoping for some backup there, but it's cool.
Yay!
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we bringing back the roundups for the UBA. A little late, it's season 4, but hey, you know, it is what it is. I've been thinking about it since the UBA started, to be honest. But asked the guys if it was cool. They said hell yeah. And yeah, so for this preseason roundup, we are joined by Mr. LionheartPlays. How you doing, good sir?
I coughed. Hi.
He is one of the coaches in the UBA this season, so definitely check him out in the description down below, alongside all the other coaches, of course. Now, Humberto might possibly be the most consistent host throughout this entire season, but keep in mind that he's not our permanent host. I might do some videos alone. I might do some videos with some other coaches. We'll see as the season goes on. But yeah, this is the preseason roundup. We're going to be going over the season 4 teams, coaches, all that good stuff. And yeah, so for this, we're going to be going through all the coaches in draft order, which you guys do not know, but you'll see as we go along. So, with all that being said, we get to start with me.
Yay.
Yay! Coach of the LA Inferno. I got the first pick in the draft this season because I am the reigning champ. So, yeah, I got to pick. Why you gotta say stuff like that, man? I got to pick the first overall. So let's quickly go over my team. I drafted Grimmsnarl, Salamence, Torkoal, Eternatus, Rotom Wash, Archludon, Gliscor, Kleavor, and Deoxys, a team that I personally think is pretty good. I did have to switch up a couple of picks. Screw you, Jakey, you took Sneasler. That was the only pick I really got sniped on. I ended up bringing Kleavor in for it. But I think I managed to put together a team that has like a decent amount of bulk, but also a lot of firepower in there as well. 2 legends that I've been wanting to use. I've been wanting to use Eternatus since Sword and Shield, to be honest. So I'm glad I get to use it. And Deoxys was just a fun option that I found and just said, screw it, why not use it? What do you think about my team, man?
I think your team comp is pretty well rounded. You have firepower, you have bulk, you have honestly, it's a really well rounded team. Like, it's gonna be, just looking at your team in general, it's gonna get hard. A lot of people think that the Deoxys is gonna be hard to dance around. It's not. But here's what's gonna be hard to dance around with your theory. Your Eternatus is gonna be nasty. I can see Eternatus, Archludon, Torkoal. Those are personally ones that I'm not looking forward to facing. And I, having used Kleavor, well, not Kleavor, well, yeah, Kleavor, but Gliscor before, I'm not looking forward to facing how bulky that thing is either. Like, you got a really well-rounded team just with bulk alone, and like you said, you have some firepower there. It's a really well-rounded team. One of the more fearsome ones in the league so far this season.
Yes. I got your approval. So
my children are there.
Yes, true. So as mentioned, I am the champ from season 3. So obviously performance last season was. Well, you gotta clear your throat while I say that. So,
no, I coughed. Dude, I cough. I promise. I promised I coughed. I'm sick, guys. I'm sick, and I'm still recovering. I just got some cough drops, or I bought some, and they're coming in later today, and I have water. I promise. I am sick. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. My voice is unusually deep. Yeah. I'm sick as fuck. I'm sorry. I'm sick as crap.
So last season performance, obviously pretty good. Champion, managed to beat everyone but Carlos, which was an annoying loss, but we did get past everyone and walk away with the season 3 trophy. So trying to back that up is going to be more difficult this season, because obviously last season there was only 5 coaches. Now there's 8 in the league this season, so that is significantly more matchups already right there that we're gonna have to run through. But trying to back that up with a good team. So speaking of which, the schedule for the LA Inferno. Thank you, Pidge, for making the graphics. It makes my life so much easier. We have week 1 against the Miami Palafins and this man right here. Week 2, the Walton Wingulls and No Sad Nate. Week 3, Montebello Morpeko and Mr.Toast. Week 4, Snowdonian Frosmoths and Jakey. Week 5, Detroit Pyroars and Game Reviews. Week 6, Colchester Celtics and PidgeGaming. Week 7, we're taking on Team Coin and TheDoorman. So an interesting schedule where I get to start with this guy freaking right off the rip, so that's fun. I'm not looking forward to that week 7 matchup. We're gonna go over his team in a bit, but I'm not looking forward to facing his team, the Doorman's team. But everything else should be fun. There are a lot of firepower teams this season, a lot of high powered teams this season. I think I can walk away with at least a positive record. I think everyone's getting into the playoffs, but I think I can walk away with a positive record this season, right? What do you think? You think I could?
Yeah, probably. Just gotta get past. You said you just gotta get past that week 7 matchup because it's just an interesting one.
Yeah, that's a fun team. So yeah, it's an interesting season because again I start with a pretty tough matchup right off the rip, and then I get to go against Nate, which is a fun one because last time I had to get revenge for when I lost to him in season 2. I have to get revenge against Carlos for losing to him in season 3. It's funny because the last time I played both of those guys, I lost to them, so it's all about revenge. Jakey, I've knocked him out of the playoffs twice, so I feel like we're starting to form a little bit of a rivalry there. So that'll be a fun one. And then obviously me and Pidge always get down. Max and I played in the finals last season, so a lot of storylines for me coming into this season. It's going to be interesting. Obviously the expectation is to get back to the championship, at least the semifinals. I have not missed the semifinals. I have made it to 2 championships and 1 semifinal, so that's where my expectations are at now, is to just get to the semifinals and preferably get to the championship. So yeah, that's what we're looking for the El Inferno. Screw that guy. Moving on to more interesting coaches, we have the Colchester Celtics, whose coach is PokePidge or PidgeGaming. His team consists of Baxcalibur, Zacian, Dialga, Mimikyu, Mudsdale, Galvantula, Espatha, Chandelure, and Umbreon. A very interesting team. He loves his Mudsdale. That was like a gimme. He was gonna take it. He's always gonna take Mudsdale. But he reclaims his Pather, which is gonna be a fun one to go against again. I think his team is pretty similar to mine. A lot of bulk in there, a lot of firepower. Pokemon that he's used to as well. So it's a nice blend of Pokemon he's used and Pokemon he's getting to try out for the first time. He had the other doggo before. He had Zamazenta before. Now he's taking Zacian, and he's going for a bit of a sword there with his legend. But he has used Dialga, he has used Mimikyu, Mudsdale, his Pather, so it'll be interesting to see how he uses those Pokemon. Umbreon, I think, has only been seen once in any draft league I've done. I think it was like season 3 in the UBL or something like that. So I'm curious to see how Pidge uses it. Yeah, crazy, huh? I think it's a pretty good team. What do you think about it?
I think it's very Pidge.
Yeah.
It's a very Pidge team.
Don't know how to explain it to you guys, but it is distinctly Pidge.
Yeah, I just don't know how to, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because as we've seen in the past with Pidge's track record, you know, the man, there's a reason he probably has more championships under his belt other than me, I think, right? Even just visiting them.
Finals, yeah, he's probably got the most finals.
Yeah, but there's a reason he has the track record he has. He can flip the most common Pokemon, like a Mudsdale or an Espathra, and just like turn them into absolute monsters. Mm-hmm. You know, that Baxcalibur, Godzilla, I'm not looking forward to facing that.
That's going to be a fun one. Yeah,
that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I've always said it, Pidge is a great tactician. He knows what he's doing. His picks, that's why it's always scary with some of his picks, especially like last season. I know his team wasn't great on paper, but like I was scared of a lot of those Pokemon because it's like you don't know what Pidge is gonna do. This guy brought a Destiny Bond Mimikyu in a championship. You don't know what he's gonna do. So yeah, like we said, it's just distinctly Pidge, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That is a very good thing. And like Umberto brought up, Pidge has made it to the most finals out of all of us. Maybe hasn't won them all, but he's pretty consistent about making it there. So it'll be interesting to see how he does this season, because last season wasn't great. But as I just mentioned, his team wasn't great. He drafted a lot of mediocre Pokemon and just decided to have some fun. But now he's coming with the heat this season, so I don't think we're going to see... What?
I forgot that I didn't compete in seasons 2 and 3.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, you're right. He has made it to the most championships out of all of us. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, and I think this season he's coming with the fire, because last season he had his fun. He messed around with some fun Pokemon, some interesting Pokemon, but I think this season it ain't no messing around for Pidge. So these are the order. Obviously, all the coaches are playing each other, but this is the order Pidge is gonna have to take everyone on. He's gonna be taking on TheDoorman in week 1, Mr. LionheartPlays in week 2, Nate in week 3, Mr.Toast in week 4, Jakey in week 5, myself in week 6, and then Game Reviews in week 7. He gets to have the pleasure of going against Team Coin he's the first one up to go against that team. I know I keep teasing it, we will go over his team. I'm just gonna keep mentioning it because it's a crazy team. He gets the pleasure, we all get to watch that team's debut against Pidge, so that's a fun matchup for him to have first. And then he gets to take on Mr. LionheartPlays, a fun rivalry that you two have gone back and forth a lot. So that's a fun one. I think you guys have like the most final matchups between each other, I feel like. So yeah. That's always a fun one. And then he gets Nate, Mr.Toast, and Jakey back to back to back, and then me back to back to back to back. Like basically all his like other rivals outside of finals, his UK buds, and then Mr.Toast and me. Obviously, we've all kind of built a rivalry there. And then he gets to take on Max in week 7, so that's a fun way to end. I feel like Max always kind of goes hard in the last week of the season, so that's a fun one. I think it's that middle stretch is very interesting for him, weeks 3 to 6. Do keep in mind, I didn't even mention this, we do have a bye week after week 4, so there's some time to like kind of think heading into the week 5 matchup. So that would, for Pidge, that would be Jakey, so that's a fun one for him to come back to. I think it's a interesting schedule. He's got a pretty difficult weeks 3 to 6. Honestly, his middle of his schedule is just it's a lot. Like a lot of rivalries, a lot of like storylines for him there too. I think he can weather that storm with Pidge. But I wouldn't be surprised if he starts like 0-2, 1-2. It's classic Pidge. He turns it around, makes a run to the freaking finals. He always does it every single season. He starts slow, picks it up in the second half of the season, and just runs straight to the championship. So that's classic Pidge right there. I'm curious to see how he does in that middle of the stretch, but I think he'll adapt. And yeah, like I said, last season Pidge, I think it was mainly the team. Team wasn't good, so he obviously didn't perform too well. But I obviously this season, looking at his team, it's clear that he has one goal in mind, and it is making it back to that championship again. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him there. You got any final thoughts on Pidge?
I do not. Just nothing more that I can say other than reiterate what you said, that he is an incredible tactician and the man knows what he's doing on the battlefield. He's
a legend at this point. All right, moving on. Third in the draft order was JakeyXY. I think he's still uploading on XYZ. JakeyXYZ, coach of the Snowdonian Frosmoths. His team consists of Fluttermane, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Garchomp, Meowscarada, Skizor, Volcarona, Garganacl, Sneasler, and Jolteon. This, just like we said, the last team, very distinctly Pidge. This team is distinctly Jakey. This is such a Jakey team. You can see the many ways each Pokemon can set up. You can see the many ways that this team can just like take over a match and just come at you with some firepower. It's a very offensive team. I mean, obviously Garganacl's there, I think, for a bit of bulk, Scizor, a little bit of bulk, but honestly, it's a very offensive team. And that's sort of just Jakey's style. I feel like since his introduction in the EBL, he's always been just in your face, offensive, just very just in your face. That's the type of battler he is. He doesn't care if a setup screws him over. He doesn't care. He's still gonna press it. He's still gonna try it, and he's still gonna go for it. That's what makes him scary. He's got balls, dude. He goes for it every single time. And this team is just perfectly matches his style. I'm assuming you agree with that, right?
Oh, I do. I remember my very first matchup ever against Jakey.
You were his first matchup, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember it. The man has balls. He knows. He goes for it. He has an idea in his head. He goes for it, and he's not afraid to put it to the test. If it doesn't work, he tries something else. But it is a very offensive team. Just looking at his team comp, there could be a little bit more bulk, because honestly, I truly see the Garganacl and the Scizor as the bulk. But it's like you said, I think that knowing Jakey and just how he battles, that is probably more than enough with all the swords that he has literally in his arsenal to take over a match and just steamroll through.
Yeah.
So if anybody could steamroll through, it's definitely Jake.
Yeah.
Very offensive.
His very first move he ever clicked in a draft league was Quiver Dance, so we all know what this man's about.
Yeah.
We all know what this man's about.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see. Last season was an interesting one for him. It had his ups, he had his downs. I knocked him out in the semifinals. But he had a very interesting season. His team wasn't his. So keep that in mind. It wasn't his team. He did not draft his team last season. So he still did well, all things considered. It's going to be interesting to see the bounce back this season because now he has a team that's very distinctly his own. So I'm curious, the difference. Much like kind of Pidge had fun last season, Jakey didn't have a team that was his last season. So both those guys are coming into the season having teams, that they're comfortable with, teams that they know they're familiar with. And like we just said, this is very distinctly Jakey. This team. You could show me it without the name, I'd say that's Jakey's team right there. 1,000 times out of 1,000. So looking at his schedule here, let's look at how he's going to be able to rebound this season. His order of schedule. He's going to be taking on Nate right away. That's one rivalry right there. Right off the rip. Then he's got Mr.Toast, the Detroit Pyroars, because there's a typo on this graphic. The Detroit Pyroars. And game reviews in week 3. You got Inferno, yours truly, in week 4. The Colchester Celtics and Pidge in week 5. Team Coin in week 6, and TheDoorman. And then he's got LionheartPlays and the Miami Palafins in week 7. So a fun way to end the season. I would say weeks 4, because I'd say Jakey and I have kind of developed a little bit of a rivalry there. Weeks 1, 4, and 5, I would say, are the ones that to kind of highlight for Jakey specifically. Week 7 is not the greatest way to end a season, especially if it comes down to seeding and how, it's a very tough matchup if he needs a win in week 7 to get like a higher seeding or something. So that'll be fun to watch. And as we just mentioned, Jakey's very first ever battle, I believe, in a draft league was against this man. So it'll be interesting to see that again. I think he's got a pretty balanced order of schedule. He kind of has like favorable matchups with the offensive power he has matched up. And then he's got some tactical battles kind of sprinkled in there as well. So I think it's a good schedule for him. He gets to start with a friend of his. So that'll be a fun one to watch. He basically is kind of playing the team he had last season. Nate drafted a lot of the same Pokemon. So it'd be interesting to see because Jakey had a team last season. So surely he would know how to handle it. And historically, Nate doesn't do too hot with Pokemon who's set up. So it'll be a fun matchup to watch. So yeah, just generally, Jakey's coming off a season where he didn't have his own team, had a bit of a roller coaster performance, but this season he's got a team that's his own. I'm fully expecting this man to put in the work, and back in season 1, he did really well. He did really well with a team that was distinctly his. He was kind of steamrolling everyone for a while there, and then tapered off towards the end of the season. So we'll see if it's more of the same. He kind of pulled a reverse Pidge. We had a really strong start to the season and then tapered off at the end. So, but I think this season is going to be very interesting. If people can't counter those setups, he's going to steamroll right through you. Any final thoughts on Jakey here?
No final thoughts.
Cool. All right, moving on. We got this man right here. We got LionheartPlays and the Miami Palafins. Their team consists of Dragonite, Palafin, of course, Solgaleo, Glamora, Clefable, Indeedee Male, Cinderace, Corviknight, and Chin Pao. I would say much like mine and Pidge's team, this is a balanced team. I mean, you got your bulk in there, you got your powerhouse Pokemon, your Pokemon that'll hit, Pokemon that can do both, like Dragonite, for example. And Solgaleo, those Pokemon can do both. They can hit, they can defend. It's a scary team, man. I hate that I have you week 1.
What do you? Okay, we're gonna have to pause here since we're talking team comp and stuff. I'm not confident with this team yet.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm not confident with this team yet. Like I did my very best because I got sniped multiple times. True. I did my very best to draft a balance between bulk and offense and stuff. I have to see what I'm going to do, but of course we're going to hit that. We're going to hit a segment. We're going to get a segment later on, I believe, in which we'll talk about stuff in detail as to what we expect within the first week and stuff. So I'm not gonna go further from there. But yeah, like team comp wise, I have to yet to sit down and look at things and be more comfortable and stuff. You know?
I think it's a fun team, regardless. Whether like I think it's a fun comp, fun just sort of. I think it's got decent synergy. Like the team just seems like it'll work together, just on a surface level. But last season's performance, the last season this man was in back in season 1. And he won. So if you guys can, we have like a records channel that I actually just updated, and if you look at all the records, this man is like top 3 in so many of those records, and he has had 1 season. So obviously the expectations heading into this season are relatively high. I mean, we've come to expect this man to win the championship every single season. He's always a favorite. It'll be an interesting one to see, especially if you're not feeling too comfortable with the team. I mean, obviously, I have faith that you'll pick it up sooner rather than later. Looking at his schedule, as we already mentioned, he is going to play myself in week 1. Then he's got No Side Nate, and I'm reading the wrong one. Wait.
I was gonna say, like, what?
Okay, I was right about week 1. He's got me. Week 2, he's got Pidge. So that's a fun 1-2 punch right at the beginning of the season. And then he's got to deal with Team Coin in week 3 in the Doorman. Week 4, he's got Game Reviews. Week 5, No Side Nate. Week 6, Mr.Toast. And week 7, Jakey. A very fun start to the season for you. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I think that my first 4 weeks of the season is not going to be fun. It's definitely going to be an uphill battle because I have to face against the reigning champion. I have to face against Pidge, who in and of himself, you know, is a monster on the battlefield. And then I have to face Team Coin, who I have my thoughts on his team. And there's a whole bunch of question marks above my head if this was an anime, but we'll continue on that. But then there's Detroit. Then there's the Detroit Pyroars, and I have to say that since the beginning of the EBL with season 1 and 2, you know, obviously it wasn't Max's greatest seasons and stuff, but I believe from season 3 and 4 he started to improve a lot, and then finally in season 1. He managed to get claim. It was the first time that he's ever won a match against me, and it wasn't a fun one. And I still remember and still have PTSD from our season 4 EBL semifinals, which that was a monster of a battle.
Yeah.
Max has just gone through the roof when it comes to battle experience and everything. So that is just going to be a horrible battle, and not in the sense like horrible like Max is a horrible battler, horrible because it's gonna be a massacre, and honestly I can't tell you who's gonna win and who's not, because the first 4 weeks of this season is gonna be insane.
He's also coming off a finals appearance, so
there we go.
We got to keep that in mind too. Which, speaking of, considering his expectations, I mean, this man's coming off of finals. He did well last season. His strategies were, I'll just say, fun to go against. So it's gonna be an interesting one right there. We'll obviously he's next, so we'll talk about him in a second. But yeah, I agree. That's gonna be a fun start to the season for you. And obviously, like I just said, the expectations for this man, it's just that you're a favorite. It's always gonna be that way, whether you agree personally or not. That's how it's always gonna be. You don't have the most championships in any draft league we'd be in and not be considered a favorite. So and his performance season 1 was just incredible. You lost 1 match. 1. So this man's coming in hot into this season. We'll see how Mr. Liner plays. You got any final thoughts on your potential season here?
I do not.
Okay. Moving on, as I just mentioned, we have Game Reviews and the Detroit Pyroars. His team consists of Lugia, Walking Wake, Blissey, Quaquable, Quaquaval, Rotami, Skeledirge, screw that Pokemon, Greninja, Haxorus, and Clodsire.
You see why I'm saying it's not going to be fun?
A fun team. Now, we talk about teams that are distinctly Jakey, distinctly Pidge. This team, I would say, not entirely is distinctly Max, but there's definitely hints of Max throughout it. He loves the duck. Quaquaval has been one of his mainstays. Skeledirge looks like is going to be another one for him. Skelders was not a fun Pokemon to go against last season. It was just slack off, Torch Song, slack off, Torch Song, slack off, Torch Song, over and over and over. It was not a fun combo. I could speak to it. I had to face it. Quackerwell, to be honest, has had honestly only a couple good weeks in the UBA from what I've been able to tell. I don't want to light a fire under that Pokemon, but just saying, it hasn't really done the most work. I'm curious to see how he'll try to use it differently this season, but his Legends.
That's just a staple, Mon.
Yeah, it is. His Legends, honestly, though, I do like. Lugian Walking Wake. I personally use Walking Wake. I think it's a very fun Pokemon.
I personally lose you.
Yeah, it's a fun Pokemon. That Blissey is going to be, it's just an interesting team where you got the bulk in there. You have some firepower. I think it does lean a little bit more towards bulk than firepower, but he definitely has some swords in there. Haxorus obviously is a threat. You cannot, you have to think about Haxorus in a matchup.
Just realized he didn't draft a pseudo.
Yeah, he's the only
Haxorus is not a pseudo, guys.
He is not.
Haxorus is not a pseudo. And he didn't draft a pseudo.
He is the only coach who did not draft a pseudo. We did change the rules where you can have 2 restricted, so legendary, mythical, paradox, whatever, and you can also draft a pseudo on top of it, but we can only bring 2 of the 3. And Max is the only one who didn't take a pseudo legendary, so I'm curious if that'll help or hurt him, and who knows. I think he has okay balance. Like I said, I think it leans a little more towards bulk, but he definitely has some firepower in there. What do you think about his composition here?
I think if anybody can use that Quackable and make it even better, it's going to be Max, because he has the most experience with that duck. Okay, yeah. I have used the duck personally in other leagues and in other battles and stuff. I think it's a great. I'm not a fan of Quackable as a Pokemon, but like on a competitive scene, I think it does great. I've done phenomenal things with it. I'm scared of the duck. Okay, PTSD to UBA Season 1. It's week 3. First Pokemon pick, the man throws out the duck, Terra Waters, and it's destroy. I didn't know how to. I couldn't stop it. The thing is a monster. Skeledirge is not hard to dance around with, but it is absolutely annoying. Haxorus and Clodsire, just this team is. I think his team is really well built.
Yeah,
I think it actually has synergy too.
I think so too. Look at like as he was drafting it, I was like, yeah, that works. Like I was like, it's a good. Like I say, it leans more towards bulk. I don't mean that in a necessarily bad way. It's just like Humberto just said.
Even so,
it's still got pretty good synergy with each other.
Even if it was all bulk, or if it was mainly bulk, it's a great team.
It's a good team. Yeah. So looking at Max's schedule here, his road to try and get back to the finals starts in week 1 against Mr.Toast and the MON Morpeko. In week 2, he's going to be taking on Team Coin and TheDoorman. Week 3 is Snowdonian, Frosmoths, and Jakey. Week 4, LionheartPlays and the Miami Palafins. Week 5, Inferno and yours truly. Week 6, the Walton Wingulls and No Side Nate. And he gets to end with taking on Pidge in week 7 and the Colchester Celtics. A fun start to the season for him. I'm curious to see, because Max and Carlos did go at it in the semifinal last season. Max, you got your win, but I think Carlos completely threw that match. So I'm curious to see this rematch here. I wanna see a fun matchup there. The two of them have been kind of butting heads a little bit the last couple seasons, so I'd like to see a good matchup there. Team Coin. Don't worry, guys. They're next. We're gonna talk about it. Okay. Middle of the season, he's got Jakey, Lionheart, and myself. So this man and myself. So it's a fun middle of the season for him. He's got a sword coming at him in week 3, and then 2 champions coming at him in weeks 4 and 5. That was a terrible rich person laugh.
I was gonna say.
And then he gets to end the season with Pidge. And that's not a fun matchup in general to end of the season. But I think Max and Pidge have had their run-ins a few times throughout the course of the draft league. So it's an interesting schedule for him. I think the middle of the season is going to be a bit of a tougher stretch. But I'm curious how Max can make his way back to the final. He did all right season 1. Season 2 he did all right as well. Season 3 obviously he made it to the final, so he had to have done well. And like Humberto said, like we talked about with this team, it's got good synergy. It's got a good balance there. I think it has that max touch on that team. So
it is very Max.
Yeah,
actually.
So I think he's gonna make a good run here. I could see him easily making it to the semifinals with his team, and doing some good work during the regular season. You got any final thoughts on Max here?
I do not.
All right, moving on to Team Coin and Coach TheDoorman. His team is fine. He drafted Tyranitar, Kyogre, Groudon, Galarian Weezing, Arboliva, Indeedee Female, Pinkerton, Alola Ninetales, and Espeon. Now, if you guys couldn't tell by the Pokemon, his theme is essentially all the things that can set up, like the weather or the terrains. All Pokemon that can set that up, and Espeon is there for Weather Ball. A team that, frankly, I'm just going to say it outright because I'm sure he knows it too, it just lacks any kind of synergy. His two legends directly counter each other, so it's a team that is just meant to annoy, disrupt, and, you know, just be annoying. It feels like that's the point of the team. I don't know if that's, you know, Alan's point for the team, but it's a very annoying team. It lacks synergy, but it's just meant to throw you off and be annoying and just be disruptive and chaotic. I'm not looking forward to playing this team at all. I don't think it's a particularly difficult team to take on, but at the same time, it's not exactly the most fun team to take on either. So I'll let you take over here for his team composition.
Okay, so you kind of pretty much covered it. And by the way, I put a little. If you're wondering what this white thing is around my neck, it's a cooling fan. It is hot as heck. Anyway, looking at his team comp, like you said, he had, you know, the Tyranitar, Kyogre, Groudon, Galarian Weezing, all these guys. Okay, he has weather and terrain. Weather and terrain. He took my other child, and I'm upset at you, Josh, for not stopping that. It's not. If we're looking, I mean no disrespect. If we're looking at the individual Pokemon themselves, personally for me, the only Pokemon that I'd be afraid of is that Kyogre. Yeah. Okay? That'd be the only Pokemon that I'd be afraid of. The team, like you said, it's not a difficult team to take on. It is more annoying, it is more disruptor more than anything. I think that because the team has no synergy at all, this team's weakness is itself.
Yeah.
This team's weakness is itself. There's your first clue on how to beat it, guys. I don't have anything else to say. I think he was probably just having fun.
Oh yeah.
At this team. It's very clear that he just wants to have fun. I will say this. Because I know Alan is also one of the other battlers that has improved tremendously since discovering Jenning and stuff. And I was part of that and stuff. Since discovering Jenning and things like that, he has improved significantly, I feel, in his battles. If he is able to do great things with his team, I will be impressed. I will absolutely be impressed if he is able to do disruptive shenanigans, have fun, and still kick butt.
It definitely feels like a mental game type of team. Like,
agreed.
It's gonna get in your head. Someone, you know, who might not understand all the you know, differences between the terrains and, you know, the additional effects of weather might not be able to, or it might get in their head like, oh, I tried to use Fake Out on his Indeedee and it didn't work because of Psychic Surge. Honestly, if Alan can do well with his predictions, like in game, it could be an annoying team in that sense as well. Like if he could see, for example, like I just used like a Fake Out coming and he brings an Indeedee for the Psychic Surge to prevent the priority. Like it can be a team that works in that way. Like it's definitely got to lean more into the mental side of things. Which I think will play in his favor in a couple of matchups in this season. So,
and here's the thing too, is that a lot of these other Pokemon, if their terrain runs out, they have backup terrains. So this man's going to be under terrain throughout the majority of the battle. That's something that you guys also should be watching out for. If he is able to pull off a Pokesports, for lack of a better, for lack of another creator, If he's able to put up predictions and stuff like that, like you said, that's going to work out in his favor a lot.
So, taking a peek at his road through the regular season, he begins with Pidge. Pidge is the guinea pig we're all going to be watching to see how this team coin looks like. Then he's got Max in week 2 in the Detroit Pyroars. Week 3 he's got LionheartPlays in the Miami Palafins, plural. Week 4 he's going to be taking on the Walton Wingulls and No Side Nate. Week 5 the Montebello Morpeko and Mr.Toast. Week 6 Jakey and the Snowdonian Frosmoths. And then week 7 the Inferno and yours truly. I think I have the best seat in the house. I get to watch 6 weeks of his team before we get to face off. So I get to kind of see how it's going to be, how he's going to use it, how he looks. An interesting start to the season. He's got 2 former champions in the first 3 weeks, as well as last season's finalists. So it's not exactly an easy beginning to the season. I frankly wouldn't be surprised if he starts 0-3, just being brutally honest. Because I could see Pidge and this man right here, countering a lot of what he's able to bring to the table. Max, as Humberto mentioned in the last segment, has greatly improved, so I could also see Max doing that. I just don't think it's a very good start to the season for him to test out this fun team. As Humberto mentioned, you're allowed to have fun, and that's perfectly okay. That's exactly what we think is happening, which is perfectly fine. It's just he doesn't exactly have the most fun matchups in the first 3 weeks of the season. I know those coaches probably aren't looking forward to playing him as well, but it's not exactly the most fun start to the season.
It's hard to realize that some of us are more competitively oriented mindset-wise than others, and others really just like to have fun.
Exactly.
And that is perfectly fine. This league was created to have fun at the end of the day.
That's why I've not taken the same legend throughout this entire throughout the UBA. Yeah, it's all about fun. So, I mean, if Alan's coming into this is just trying to freaking experiment and just get out there and, be as annoying as possible and just have fun with his terrains and his weather, then by all means, he can definitely disrupt some people and I can see him getting a couple wins in here. I really could. There's a couple coaches who I won't name names, who I think he can easily disrupt with the mental game. It'll be interesting to see those matchups for him. But I think I could see Alan sneaking a couple of wins in here and maybe sneaking away with like a 6-7 seed. Unless people just really can't deal with it. I mean, we just don't really know how this team is going to perform exactly. Like, it's kind of hard to predict. You can kind of guess, but at the same time, we won't really know until that week 1 matchup. So, for Alan, it's
and even then, things could change too. So the only thing that we can do is just wait and sit until it's time for us to face it.
Yeah, that's why I said I got the best seat in the house. But yeah, we'll see. We'll keep a close eye on Alan throughout the season. You got any final thoughts on Doorman?
When you said Palafin and then Palafins, I had to take a moment to realize, what is my team name again? Oh, yeah, it is Palafins. Anyway, no final thoughts.
Moving on, we got the number 7 in our draft order here. We have Mr.Toast, coach of the Montebello Morpeko. His team consists of Rillaboom, Mewtwo, Dragapult, Snorlax, Primarina, Hisuian Zoroark, Inferno, Zekrom, and King Gambit. A lot of Pokemon that Carlos is familiar with. Rillaboom, Dragapult, Primarina, he's used before Hisuian Zoroark, and Zekrom and King Gambit. All Pokemon he's familiar with. I think that's a crucial thing for Carlos, is to have Pokemon that he is comfortable with, because when he has those Pokemon, he's able to perform a lot better. Last season's team, I thought, was a very interesting composition that he had. He built it himself. I helped him a little bit with this team, but it was ultimately all up to him, all the Pokemon he took. And I think for Carlos, the key, like I said, is comfort. And a lot of these Pokemon he's comfortable with. He gets to be the next user of Mewtwo. He gets to join the club. It is a very, very fun Pokemon to use. I think we can both attest to that. And
it's not fun to go up against this generation.
No. But he does have Zekrom as well, a legend he is familiar with, a legend he has done pretty well with, I will say, the couple times he had Zekrom. So it's interesting to see it back in his hands. And then we got Dragapult, which is a Pokemon I thought he used well as well. Back in season 1, I believe he had one of the only 2 sweeps in the UBA with Dragapult. So it's a good team. I think he's got a good balance, a little bit leaning a little more towards the offensive side. Some Pokemon do kind of have the balance of the bulk and the offensive. I'd say it leans more offensive, but I think it's a decent team, decent type balance, decent composition. Synergy is good. I wouldn't say it's great. I think it's good. I think his legends synergize pretty well. They got that nice physical special split there. And like I said, it's just a lot of comfort for Carlos. That's what's key for him, from what I've noticed, from what I've seen. Yeah, what do you think about his team comp?
I think his 2 legends are definitely the best, one of the best picks of League. Very signature of Carlos. I think the Mewtwo suits him well. Rillaboom is a great pick for him too. Snorlax is a great little bulk. So is the Primarina. I think it's a very well balanced team. He has 2 powerhouses with the Mewtwo and Zekrom on both sides of the spectrum, both special and physical. You have King Gambit, who is bulky and can dish stuff out. Infernape, who's fast. Zoroark, fast. It's a flash cannon. It's a glass cannon, but you never really know what Pokemon you're going to be going up against. You kind of have to it's going to make you think. His team is definitely going to be one to make you think. So, yeah, I think Carlos is going to do great things this season.
Yeah, I believe Carlos, I think he went out in the playing match, or he went out, I think, in the quarterfinals in season 1, and I believe he made it to the semifinals in both seasons 2 and 3. I know for sure season 3 he made it to semifinal. But it'll be interesting to see how he's able to get back there. He needs to break his playoff duck. He does not have a single playoff win. That's going back to the EBL. So his road to get there, to try and get his first playoff win, begins with the Detroit Pyroars, who knocked him out last season, by the way. So the 2 of them have been having a good head-to-head the last couple seasons. So I want to see that first week matchup. Then he's got Jakey and the Snowdonian Frosmoths, El Inferno and yours truly. We have a rivalry for familial reasons. The Colchester Celtics and PokePidge. Their rivalry is pretty one-sided. Sorry, Carlos. You have Team Coin and the TheDoorman in week 5. Week 6 is the Miami Palafins and LionheartPlays. And then the week 7 matchup is Walton Wingulls and No Side Nate.
See, Carlos and I are friends. We have no rival. We have love.
You guys have only played like twice, so
okay.
not enough matches. Tough start to the season for him. I think like I said, him and Max are starting to kind of develop a rivalry. Speaking of which, they've been, like I said, the last couple seasons. I've said it a couple times throughout this roundup. They've been butting heads a lot. Then Jakey, I'm interested to see how Carlos deals with the setup machine that is Jakey, the ultimate sword, and then obviously him and I have been having fun with our matchups. And then Pidge and him have been having fun with their matchups. I think his schedule is going to be interesting. I think he equipped himself with a good team though to be able to take on a lot of his opponents. That week 6 matchup against you, I'm gonna be watching very closely.
Against me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because that'll be the 3rd time you guys play each other.
Okay.
Can he finally get his first win? Or actually, no, that's the 2nd time you guys are playing each other. I want to say it's only the 2nd time you guys would play each other. So that'll be a fun one.
I think that'll be the 2nd time that he's ever played me.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun one. I think Carlos has a balanced schedule in terms of like difficult matchup. I don't want to say easy matchup, but easier for him. Then more difficult, and kind of, his middle season stretch is not great. Weeks 3 to 6, I think, is going to be a bit tough for him. But it's Carlos. He always manages to find a way to get a winning record. That's what it seems like. So it'll be interesting to see. I think, like I said, he's equipped himself with a good team. And expectations for Carlos, I see good in the regular season, not great in the playoffs. Yeah, it's the reality of it. He needs to break that duck. He needs to get his first win in the playoffs. He's gotta get that win. And I think he might have his best team he's ever had this season. So if he's ever gonna do it, it's right now. Any final thoughts on Carlos here?
No final thoughts.
All right, moving on to our final competitor, No Side Nate, coach of the Walton Wingulls. His team consists of Mew, Tornadus, Hatterene, Blood Moon Ursula, Gengar, Tinkaton, Palma, Lucario, and a Pokemon he did not put in his lineup. Electivire was his last Pokemon. A very similar team to what he took last season. I believe only a couple Pokemon were replaced. which I think Carlos took both of them. I want to say his last two Pokemon were going to be Snorlax and Infernape, and then Carlos took both of them, so he had to replace them. But it is a very, very, very similar team. The core, at least, is six of his 9 Pokemon are the same as ones he took last season. So I'm curious how he's going to use this team. He actually did not take a pseudo legendary. Now that I'm looking at it, I didn't realize.
He said that I took his Dragonite, so he couldn't do it.
Ah, there you go. So no pseudo legendary for him as well. A team. I mean, I'm not going to explicitly say the gimmick, but I'll just say it's quite a few slow Pokemon and a few other Pokemon that can set up for those slow Pokemon. It's a Trick Room team. It's a partial Trick Room team. It's there. But it's one of those teams where it's like a hybrid. He can do Trick Room if he wants to, but he doesn't have to. Like those Pokemon that could benefit from the Trick Room could also benefit from just being bulky Pokemon. It's an interesting team because I think there's some power there. Obviously Blood Moon Earth Luna is a powerhouse, but I think it's a little bit of a utility team. Kind of like there's a lot of utility in there. I don't think it excels particularly one way or the other in terms of offense or defense. I think it's a decent team. It's a decent team. I'm not sure exactly what he was planning to do last season with that team, but he's got more of the same Pokemon this season, so maybe we'll get to see what he was trying to do. Yeah, what do you think about his team composition here?
Said it was Electivire as the last one.
Yeah.
It's an interesting team. I think that it lacks bulk a bit. Yeah, I think that it lacks bulk. And he has more power than he has bulk, which is... I guess it just depends on how he uses his team throughout the season. There's not much for me to say on his team except just to watch and see how his season unfolds.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be another coach we're going to keep an eye on, much like TheDoorman. Just to see how their teams kind of play out, how they use their teams, just get an idea of how they're planning on using the teams. Definitely going to need to keep an eye on Nate here. Looking at his last season, which was season 2, he managed to end for the first time ever with a winning record. He got his first wins ever in season 2. He managed to end with a winning record. He did go out first round in the playoffs, I believe. First or second round, he did go out, but it was obviously a much improved version of him. I think he just looked, if he can bring that same level of confidence he had in season 2, I think he'll do a lot better. He just played with a lot more confidence back in season 2. He just wasn't really second guessing himself. He was making a lot of just decisions where he was just like, I'm gonna go for it, let's do it, I'm gonna press it, no use sitting here thinking about it. It was just a different version of Nate that was just a lot more confident, and it showed in his performances. So we could see more of that this season. I think he'll perform much to the same level as he did in season 2. So looking at the schedule here in week 1, he's got Jakey and the Snowdonian Frosmoths in week 1. He's got yours truly in week 2. Week 3, he's got the Colchester Celtics and Pidge. Week 4, he's got Team Coin and TheDoorman. Week 5, Miami Palafins and LionheartPlays. Week 6, the Detroit Pyroars and Game Reviews. And then in week 7, he's got the Montebello Morpeko and Mr.Toast. An interesting first 3 weeks for him. He's getting to take on 2 of his friends and me. I think we're friends, maybe, I don't know. But he gets to take the 3 of us on weeks 1 to 3. I'm curious how Nate will deal with Team Coin, Doorman, and his team. And then his final stretch throughout the rest of the season is also not too forgiving. I think weeks 1 to 3 he'll have some fun, do some crazy things, and then weeks 5 to 7 he'll have to take it a little more serious at that point if he wants to get past that little gauntlet right there. So it's and then obviously in between the sandwich is the Doorman. So it's not an easy road, the order in which he has to take on everyone. Like I said, I think if Nate can carry that same confidence he had from season 2 into this season, he'll put up a good fight. You got any final thoughts on Nate here? Any expectations?
I do not.
All right, so that is it for all 8 of our coaches. As mentioned, you guys can check them out down below so you don't miss a single match of the UBA. But we do have one final little segment here for the roundup that we're going to go through quickly. The week 1 matchups, our predictions for those. So, first up, we have the Detroit Pyroars versus the Montebello Morpeko. As mentioned, Max did knock out Carlos. Game Reviews did knock out Mr.Toast last season to get into the championship match. I think Mr.Toast kind of got in his head in that match and really just beat himself in a lot of ways. He definitely could have done better at least. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm gonna back Mr.Toast in this one. Carlos has historically had the leg up over Max in this matchup, so I'm gonna stick with the history, not the recent history, just the overall history. I'm gonna back Mr.Toast. What do you think?
I'm backing Max on this one. Yeah, I'm backing Max on this one. I think that Max is gonna be onto something this season with this team. And again, I love Carlos and stuff, but I know Max more as far as battling goes, and I've seen him improve. And having battled him firsthand and stuff more than I battled Carlos, I know how these improvements feel like, and I think that Max is gonna come out swinging. Not saying that Carlos isn't gonna do things, because he has a really good team, and as you pointed out, it is his best team that he's drafted so far. But I think that if Max plays his cards right, then Max is gonna come out ahead on this one. I'm giving this one to Max.
All right. Next up, we have the Colchester Celtics versus Team Coin. Pidge, as mentioned, is the rest of the league's guinea pig, so we get to see what Team Coin looks like. I think part of me wants to go rogue and pick Team Coin here and TheDoorman, but I'm gonna back Pidge. Like as we mentioned, Pidge is a great tactician. I'm sure he'll know what to do and how to counter a lot of his Pokemon, a lot of TheDoorman's Pokemon, and find a way to kind of weather the storm, pun intended, and weather the terrain and get through and come up with a win. I think it'll be an interesting one though. I think it'll be a bit of a chess match at first, as Pidge is trying to like feel out, what exactly TheDoorman is trying to do with his team. I think it'll be a slower start to the match, but I could see Pidge coming up with this one. What do you think?
I agree. I'm backing Pidge on this one.
All right. Next up, we got the Walton Wingulls at No Side Nate versus the Snowdonian Frosmoths and JakeyXYZ. As mentioned before, historically, Nate doesn't do too hot against setups. But Season 2 Nate, as I keep mentioning, had a bit of a different air of confidence to him. So if he can come into this matchup and just kind of weather the storm that is Jakey, the offensive storm that he brings, I think Nate could do it. But as Humberto mentioned, with Nate's team composition, the bulk is kind of lacking on his team, which is not good when you're going against a super offensive team like Jakey's. This is unfortunately a match that I see it going Jakey's way, and I kind of see it only going two ways, either blowout or really close matchup. I don't really see any in between. I think Jakey's gonna come out swinging, and Nate is gonna have to figure out how to deal with that and how to stop Jakey there. I'm gonna back Jakey in that one, although I do want to see some stuff from Nate. It is one matchup I'm really looking forward to seeing. What do you think?
Yeah, I back Jake on this one.
All right. Next up, final matchup for week 1. We have the LA Inferno versus the Miami Palafins. I think the Miami Palafins are gonna win. What do you think?
Say that again?
I think the Miami Palafins are gonna win. What do you think?
I think that the LA Inferno are gonna win.
This is just gonna be a fun matchup. I mean, the two of us have had some bangers in the past. One of my favorite moments ever in a draft league came in season 1 when we faced in the semifinal. So this is a fun matchup, man. This is a team where we're gonna be going at it, and yeah, we always have fun going against each other. But I'm gonna back you. He's gonna back me. We're gonna be non-biased. So those are our picks. Let us know down below what you guys think for the week 1 matchups. And yeah, we're back with the roundups, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. The future ones are going to be hopefully roughly around half an hour, not as long, but we just wanted to kind of get settled and get into it again. And yeah, they're going to be on my channel. If you couldn't tell, they're all going to be on my channel. They're going to stay here forever because we're never doing a league channel ever again. So they're going to stay here as long as I want to do them. So yeah, we will see you guys in week 1 after all those matchups happen. That is February
22nd and 23rd.
22nd and 23rd, thank you. That is when the week 1 matchups happen. So be sure to check out all the coaches down below so you not miss a single match this season. And yeah, let us know your thoughts down below on all the teams, all the coaches, who you guys are rooting for. what are your predictions for week 1? Let us know down below. And of course, check out all the links in the description. Follow and subscribe as necessary. It's all greatly appreciated. You got any final words for people?
Just a toast to week 1. Whoever wins, yeah.
And of course, be sure to share yourselves with our friends, family, everybody out there. Everyone know the Hermit and LionheartPlays where it's at. See you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.